Hello and welcome to All Villa No Filler, a podcast all about Aston Villa, the world's greatest football team. Remember to subscribe to the show, follow us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. It's Max Stokes, the creator of the brilliant Villa on Tour. Great to have you on, Max.
No, thank you, Frankie. Appreciate it, mate. Looking forward to chatting about Villa.
Yeah, absolutely. Always love chatting Villa. It's what I do pretty much 24/7, even to people who don't even support Villa. So I bore a lot of people to death with it. But now, before we get started, I do have to mention those who've listened to this podcast regularly will know I've been mentioning this a lot recently. Both All Villa No Filler and Villa on Tour have been nominated for awards at the Football Content Awards. All Villa is up for the Best Podcast Premier League category. Max's Villa on Tour is in the Best Club Content Creator Premier League section 2. So voting is open until Sunday, October 13th. Please do vote for us on their website. I will leave a link in the title description and the pinned comment on YouTube as well. You can find it online if you just type in Football Content Awards and go to vote. Now first off, Max, I've got to ask you, how does it feel to be nominated for an award?
No, it's good. I won the best new content creator in 2019. So when I looked a lot skinnier, a lot younger. So it was nice. It was nice to win then. I think that was at the Etihad. I think this year it's at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So it's a big event. There's a lot of good content creators there. It'll be nice to have some Villa winners, that's for sure. But yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get over the line with a few more votes. That'll be nice. But yeah, fingers crossed, mate, for us both.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it'd be well deserved for you as well. I mean, the audience that you've grown over these years is just absolutely phenomenal, really, and the content you produce is so fantastic. So like, I mean, first of all, I'll talk about Villa on Tour. How long have you been doing it, and why did you start it? What was the idea behind it all, really?
So the anniversary, funnily enough, was when we played Young Boys, the first game in the Champions League. So that was 7 years since I first posted a video.
Wow.
So it felt like full circle because the first video was us going alongside like 5,000 other Villa fans to Barnsley in the second year of the Championship. It was a great game, actually. It was a good game to start the channel on. I think we won 3-0. Doma scored a penalty. Keenan Davis scored as well. It was when everyone was on the pitch and it was really good. But I didn't show my face for a few months or whatever it was. So it was just about sort of capturing the away days. That was when I first started going home and away. I think it was the year before. So when we first got relegated, I started going home and away with a couple of mates. So it was just about capturing those days and going on the coach and having a laugh and going to a pub in the arse end of Blackburn or wherever it would be and just having a bit of fun. And then obviously I thought it would be a lot easier in the Championship, as I think a lot of people did. So I wanted to sort of capture that journey of us hopefully getting promoted at some point and then seeing where Villa could go from there. But absolutely didn't expect it to be sort of a roller coaster ride like it was. It feels like I sort of started it at the perfect time in terms
Yeah.
of, oh my God, like we're proper stuttering here in the Championship, just come 13th and now we lost in the playoff final. And it was just like the perfect time to then fast forward 7 years later when we're here in the Champions League and we're fighting for top four in the Premier League. It's mental. But I think I just started it because I've always been interested in cameras and capturing content. And literally since I was 4, 5, 6, I wanted to be a cameraman and I was doing drawings of me being a cameraman on TV or whatever it was. And just combining that with my love of Villa, going home and away anyway and creating content off the back of that was just perfect. And I never started it because I wanted to be a YouTuber or anything like that. It was literally to show my mates at school, and it's got growing and growing. And as I found out, there's Villa fans all over the world that enjoy it, and sort of they say to me that I'm their sort of link to take them to Villa Park because I don't know, they're in Australia or America and they're not lucky enough to get to Villa Park week in, week out, or the away games, or especially where we are now in the Champions League, and just giving them that experience from a fan's point of view of, like I said, us going to the pub and just keeping it real, basically. So yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying what I'm doing at the moment.
Well, you've done an absolutely fantastic job of it. Just watching it grow as well has been incredible, and I think that it's true as well because sometimes I watch your away days as well and things like that. And there's a lot of these places I haven't been to, and I just get a real sense of what it's all about. And as you say, it's one of the things that surprised me with this podcast is just how big Aston Villa actually is and how global a fan base it is, and how many people like listen all over the world and get to experience that through your channel as well. Because it's hard obviously to travel in. So it's amazing service, really. But in all those years you've done it, do you have like a favorite game you've covered? Is there like a video you watch back and think like that was a special occasion?
I think I think it sort of proper took off the channel when the back end of that season we got promoted in the Championship. So it was a really stuttery season, and I was creating content of us drawing 2-2 at home to Stoke in December on a cold whatever it was, Saturday evening or whatever it was, and drawing at home to Hull, and it was just sort of depressing. And then Grealish was out, and then it was like, oh God, like surely we've got to get promoted at some point this season. And nobody thought we would go up that year. It was always like planning for the next season, next season. Then that 10 game run was just mental. Like I always enjoy watching my content back from then, and people talk about that Rotherham game when Grealish scored from an El Mohammadi assist, and then that Sheffield Wednesday game pips it for me as well, where we scored basically two late winners. So we were still celebrating the first one, and then we scored again, and it was just nuts. But that sort of back end of that season was just absolutely crazy. Every
Yeah.
game, the Blues game, of course, it was just absolutely crazy. But I think what I'd say is the playoff semi-finals was mental. I think the Derby game in the final, we all sort of, I know it's easy to say now, we all sort of expected to win that one. I think the second leg at the Hawthorns was just crazy. It was a really hot night. Obviously, we took a lead into that game, but Albion were by far and away the better side that night. It was a hot night. The stadium announcer was just screaming at every opportunity. And because it went to extra time, it felt like that went on for days and days and days, that game. And obviously, it goes to the penalty shootout, and it was just crazy. That was like, I can't like that was the only time I think I've experienced Villa in a penalty shootout with a game of actual meaning. So it was just crazy. And then I think we had the chance to win it with Albert Adoma, but he placed it over the bar. Luckily they missed a couple as well. Obviously Jed Steer coming to the rescue, but then obviously Tammy Abraham slots it in, and there's photos of me crying in the stands. Like I've never had that wave of emotion at a football game before. And obviously we hadn't won anything or we hadn't been promoted then, but it just felt like, right, this is our time now. We're going to win at Wembley. We failed last year, but we're going to win now. So yeah, I always mention that Albion game in the semi-finals. That was crazy.
I remember watching that. I was actually working in France for a week, and so I was away, and I remember
Mm.
watching that live in a pub, and I was on my own, and obviously just going absolutely crazy, and all these
Yeah,
people, French people, looking on at me like, "Who's this random guy going, man?" And this random team on the TV. It was,
yeah.
yeah, and to think where we've gone since then, it's just absolutely unbelievable to think about.
Mm.
But you've obviously been to so many places as well. I know you've travelled quite a lot as well, and I'll ask you about that in a second. But do you have like a sort of a favorite away day maybe that you've done?
Ooh, good question. I always enjoy going randomly to Sheffield. I don't know why it is. Like it's not too far. We've got a decent record up there, winning 5-0 last season to Sheffield United. That Sheffield Wednesday game that I mentioned a second ago. We always used to do horribly in London as well. But then
Yeah.
since Emery's come in, for some reason, we just get the better of whoever it is in London. The Arsenal and Tottenham games were fantastic last season, beating them both away. The West Ham game at the start of this season. So as a day, I enjoy going to Sheffield because either getting the coach to London's a massive faff because the traffic's a joke. Getting the train down there is good crack, actually. That's what we'll be doing for Fulham in a couple of weeks. But do you know what? I'll go with Arsenal last season. That was just absolutely outrageous. We'd beaten them earlier on in the season, obviously. That was one of the only games I've missed, actually, in recent years because I bit the bullet and went to the Christmas markets with my girlfriend. So I thought I'd sacrifice that one. Obviously, I kind of regret that now. But just the away game was absolutely outrageous. Like we were so good that day. It was sort
Yeah.
of early on in Morgan Rogers coming in, and he was a little bit stuttery. Zaniolo started that game as well, and it was one of his better games. Tielemans hitting I think he hit the crossbar in the second half, and then two late goals. It was just absolute pandemonium that away end. Like people always talk about the limbs at the Emirates, like on TV, it just gives you a perfect view, and it was absolutely outrageous. It's just partying after the game because you come out and then you're in midst of it with loads of Arsenal fans, and obviously that was sort of the day that people say they bottled the title. So just that was a little sweetener on top, and it was obviously just it was basically just perfect. Emery's former team and everything that had happened there, beating them earlier on the season, not conceding again. But yeah, I'll go with Arsenal last season. Incredible.
Yeah, that was an absolutely incredible game, wasn't it? And I've got a lot of friends who were in that away, and they've got the pictures they've sent me of their limbs. I literally have like travelled, man, maybe 3 rows down somehow, been
Yeah.
carried along.
Well, it was similar to the Sheffield Wednesday one, like I just mentioned. Like we'd scored and then we scored again so quickly. It was just like, just can't believe it. Like you're looking around and people are just like laughing and falling over each other. Like it's so perfect. When you score two quick goals like that of such significance and two really good goals as well, it's crazy.
It's absolutely true, isn't it? Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned Sheffield because I went to University of Sheffield, and I still have friends who are up in Sheffield United fans, and so I always try to go to the Villa Sheffield
Mm.
United games, and I agree with you. I think Sheffield's absolutely fantastic for an away day.
Yeah.
It's and it's all like the main city centre is very close to Bramall Lane as well. I've
Mm.
not actually been to Hillsborough, but Bramall Lane, it's just and after Villa won 5-0 last season, I was actually in the home end with my friends.
Yeah.
and the Sheffield United end started clearing out in the 20th minute when we went 4-0 up.
Yeah, it
And
was
it was
4-0
on
at half time. Yeah.
it was one of the funniest experiences in a game I've ever had. And we were near the Villa fans. The Villa fans were pointing at me, like mocking me. And I was like, "You've picked the wrong guy here. I'm the inside man. You've got the wrong guy." It was just, oh, it was absolutely hilarious. Like one of my best away days I've had,
You do
actually.
get that quite a lot though with Villa fans in the home end. I remember it at Lille. I think when obviously we'd won that. Actually, I forgot to mention that's another penalty shootout. I just remembered that
Yeah.
had quite a bit of significance on it. But yeah, there was Villa fans everywhere there. There was like pockets of them all over the stage, and because all the Lille fans clear off, then you're just seeing like Villa fans everywhere. It's the same at Young Boys as well. And then it's just like, yeah, it's just incredible. So yeah, Villa are massive.
Yeah, we really are. Yeah. And so you sort of mentioned the Lille game there. And obviously, when you started the channel, we were like, struggling to beat Rotherham in the championship.
Mm.
And now in the last year, we've entered into European competition. What's that experience been like, to be able to take the channel abroad and to see all these different places and to experience clubs that you probably
Yeah.
never thought you'd ever play against?
Well, I think obviously the name of the channel is Villa on Tour, and it kind of didn't really reflect that when we were sort of in the championship. And it's like, yeah, you're on the tour of these sort of Lancashire stadiums, going to Blackburn and Preston every season. It's like, yeah, this is decent, but it's not. It's not what Villa on Tour should be and could be. I really enjoyed the Conference League last season. Like, it was
Yeah.
obviously the first time I'd ever followed Villa in Europe, and we've done the pre-season games. Like, I always talk about Leipzig when we first got promoted. Like, it's a friendly, but it just feels fantastic. Like taking loads of Villa fans, thousands of Villa fans to a city you've never been before. And I'm looking forward to going back to Leipzig actually, because it was such a nice place. And we went to America as well for
Mm.
pre-season a couple of years ago. That was fantastic. But yeah, the European games were great. Like I said, the Conference League was so good, and just going to these quirky places like. I think it's hard to decide what was the best one. I know we only won one, but in terms of the experience, like Mostar was just absolutely incredible. Like what a place that was. It's not like you go into the capital of Bosnia. You go into a random town about an hour and a half away, and it was beautiful. The history there with what had happened in the 90s, and just the people there were lovely. And that's actually quite a tourist hotspot in the summer, but we went in the middle of December, so there wasn't that many people there. The weather was still good actually. I think it was like 15, 16 degrees, and it was just beautiful. The water, I remember the river was just bright blue. Like it was just absolutely glorious, and just the history there. There's the town was sort of split down the middle religion wise, and it was just finding out all that history. And then the
Mm.
stadium was just absolutely wild. Like I think James said it, James Rushton, when I spoke to him recently. I think he said it on a podcast. Like the one end of the stadium is a car wash during the day, and then it turns into the home end when the game's on. And it was incredible. Like that game didn't have too much riding on it, thank God, because we didn't even win that one. But just being up there in the cage, and the Portaloos were an absolute joke, and getting off the coach to like 40 German shepherds with soldiers meeting you. Like honestly, it was just incredible. And then just fast forward into the semi-final in Athens. Like I know we were 4-2 down from the first leg, so it was kind of helpful that we didn't expect too much. But the being in the sun, I'd never been to Greece before, and there was loads of Villa fans over there. And Athens was beautiful. The food, the sort of side streets, just everything about it was absolutely glorious. And we tried to make the most of it when we go on these European trips. Like a lot of people,
Mm.
for various reasons, just go in and out as fast as they can. But we're quite lucky that, depending on our annual leave and various things like that, we try and spend as much time over there as possible, just to soak in the culture. Like when we played Alkmaar, we spent a bit of time in Amsterdam. We went to where Anne Frank used to live, and all these sort of historic things. We try and see as much as we can of these places, and I try and bring that to Villa on Tour to try and give that feeling of a brand new place. And that's the thing I really enjoy, just making content in brand new cities that I've never been before, and brand new countries as well. Just showing what these places are like.
Yeah, I mean it's absolutely fantastic. It's just the historical element at all as well in these cities you go to, and it's just like it becomes addictive European football, doesn't it? You kind of
Mm.
like, I really hope Villa maintain this now for a very
You know
very
what?
long
We
time.
said that in Switzerland. We were like, it would feel weird now if Villa weren't in Europe. It's like,
Yeah,
what do you do now on your Tuesday nights? We've got no trips to look forward to or anything like that. Like a few years ago, the pre-season European trips was like the highlight. Just like, oh, I can't
yeah,
wait to go to Leipzig or Valencia for pre-season. Like that's going to be the one. And that was one time a year with the game that didn't mean anything on it of it.
Mm.
So now to have the luxury of having, especially now with the Champions League format, there being loads more games, like we're just absolutely living the dream.
Yeah, and like, what was the US tour like as well? Because I remember you went on that as well. So what was that like?
Oh, it was amazing, absolutely amazing. I'd never been to America before, so I didn't really know what to expect. And it was semi spread out, like it was all on the East Coast, but you had New York, Philadelphia, and Orlando as well. So there was a few sort of flights that we had to get in between. But it was absolutely brilliant. And like I said a little while ago, like Villa are massive, and the Villa sort of following over there is absolutely huge. Like
Mm.
they said, right, we're all going to meet in this pub, and before the game, we're going to have a few drinks. And I think what's nice as well, like these American Villa fans were speaking to me saying like I said earlier, like you're that link and just saying such lovely things to me. And it was just incredible. Like I went over there with a couple of mates, Simon and Craig, and we just had the absolute best time in the world. It's not sustainable in terms of us doing it every year, especially now with Europe and annual leave and it's quite expensive and things like that. But hopefully we try and do that a little bit more because you can just relax. Like it doesn't mean too much like a Champions League night or anything like that. You're just seeing these brand new places and just seeing how massive Villa are and seeing all these people so excited to go to their first Villa game because they can't get over to Villa Park or anything like that. So yeah, the US tour was absolutely brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And hopefully we can do something similar again, depending on where Villa go in the next pre-season.
Yeah, I have a feeling it'll be quite a regular thing, these US
Mm.
tours. We've done two in a row now, so I wouldn't be surprised. But I mean, look, last week we had the Bayern Munich game. I was there. I mean, again, I mentioned it from where the channel size is where it is now. I mean, what was that experience like for you? I mean, for me, it was, I think it's the best. I mean, I've been following Villa for 30 years. It's my favorite ever experience at Villa Park, I think.
Yeah, I'm still buzzing off it. I'm still buzzing. Like I was going to the Man United game and I was like, I'm just still focused on the Bayern Munich game. Like I think Villa
Yeah.
were as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it was so good. Like we were there and it just didn't really feel real. I mean, we were one of the lucky 1700 or whatever it was that had heard the Champions League anthem already, and we were in young boys, and that was great. But it didn't feel the same. Like you knew hearing it at Villa Park would be something else, and the moment that was really nice for me as well, just loads of little things, but the moment that was really cool was just the Champions League music came on. Like everyone was going rowdy when all the players were coming out, obviously. But then everyone was like, just shut up now. Like the music's on,
Yeah.
just be quiet, listen to it, drink it in, because this is just the moment we've worked so hard for the last 12, 18 months or whatever it was. And just hearing that music and then everyone screaming the champions, like it was just such a moment. And I think
Mm.
I was a little bit like, it was all good and well, the build up to the game, but the first 5, 10 minutes, it's like, oh my God, like we're a little bit nervous here and we're up against a super team in Bayern Munich. And it's like, it's all good and well, but are we actually going to get a result here? But as you started seeing Villa grow into the game, and Watkins had that headed chance, and he found that confidence that he can run these two centre halves because they're not very good. We're built into it, and Bayern thought, right, we're in a game here. So yeah, I always felt like we could get something out of it to get a win and our first clean sheet in a hell of a long time with such a mental goal from John Duran. Like no one else would take the F on from there apart from him. And it was such a good goal as well. Like that, I agree with you, mate. That's one of the best nights I've had at Villa Park. And I tweeted that after the game, but obviously it's all good and well, like tweeting that 20 minutes after the final whistle because you're still in that moment.
Yeah.
But still, however long on, just over a week on, 100%, that's one of my favourite games, if not the moment, like the moment as a Villa fan that I've had so far in what, 10 years, 15 years ago. And that's the one game where it's like, this is huge. And that's the one for me.
Yeah, completely. And it was all the little details, wasn't it? Even just the blue lighting on the screens with the PlayStation ads, the
Thank
number
God it
of
was that rather than the bright red Batano. Like we see that in the
yeah.
Premier League. That's meant, and that's during the day. I was like, Christ, if they show that during the night, it's going to blind the players. But yeah, little things like that, definitely.
Yeah, and even just like at the start when they had the Champions League banner on the centre
Yeah.
circle, the smoke that came off the fireworks, the champions roar from the whole tent. Absolute, like it was like a movie. It was like the end of a movie, and the
Yeah.
good guy wins in the end, as Villa did. But with Villa's start to the season overall, what have you made of it? How do you think we're getting on?
I think it's been really good. I think as we're filming now, like the most recent game is that Man United one, and I think you can sort of take it either way. Like I can see both perspectives in terms of that's a positive point or that's an opportunity missed. I can see it both ways, but I think we were all sort of expecting it. We were getting back on the bus after the Bayern game. We were saying, "Oh, we'll lose to Man United now." Like, that's just how Villa will do it. And you know what? We didn't. We kept another clean sheet. I know Man United aren't great, but just picking up a point there and just keeping things ticking over is good. So I thought it was a positive point. But overall, we've played 10 games in all competitions and lost one. And that was against Arsenal, and it was probably the game where we probably played the best we have this season. Because I don't think in any game apart from Bayern Munich we've actually got into top gear in the Premier League. We haven't got into top gear, and like this time last year we were beating Brighton 6-1 and whatever it was, and we were just unstoppable. So it's a positive for me. That's not a negative. I think look, we're still fifth in the league, like 3 or 4 points off the top, playing well. Injuries as well. That's a massive thing as well. Like, we were absolutely shafted by injuries last season, and sort of going into this one hoping that doesn't happen again. But it has looked that way so far. Fingers crossed, like the one with Ezri Konsa isn't too bad and things like that. But I think it's been an excellent start to the season, progressing in the cup as well. I think Emery doesn't care too much about it. He'll play the second string until we get to the quarters semi-final. So I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. We've got a favourable draw in the next round against Crystal Palace, but definitely in the Premier League. Champions League, you can't argue with the Champions League. 2 games, 2 wins, no goals conceded. But yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing with the start of the season. I think it's been really, really positive.
Yeah, definitely. And I wonder if we're pacing it slightly differently to last season because we're just going to have a higher volume of games and more intense games as well. So
Mm,
maybe we're not going to start as on fire as I think a lot of the top European teams, like Man City, for instance, tend to get quite slow to get
yeah,
going. And then once they do, it's just like unstoppable. So what I'm saying is Villa are going to go on a 20-game winning streak from January onwards. So that's
fingers
what's going
crossed.
definitely going to happen here. But do you have a player of the season so far as well?
Oh, I think it'll be Yuri Tielemans for
Yeah,
me. I
same.
think it's got to be. Like it was when he came in, like I was buzzing. It was a free transfer, whatever it was. But obviously, it was kind of hard to see where he'd fit. But I think we've sort of learned as Villa fans now, and Emery's taught us that there isn't going to be a set 11, and there's going to be injuries, as we know. And when Onana came in as well, it's like right, okay, Kamara's injured, so it's going to be those two. But then when Kamara does come back, how's it going to work? And I think for me now it's Kamara's got to be back in there 100%. Onana definitely has had a decent start to the season. He's still got to work a few things out, but obviously that's going to happen with a new player. But I think Tielemans, whatever happens with those two, he's got to be in there 100%. He's just so he just makes it look easy, doesn't he? Like he gets the ball and it's like, oh my God, the man on here, like what are you going to do? And then it's like he got eyes in the back of his head. He just turns and he's ran away. He's not the quickest player, but he just makes it look easy. So I think for me, yeah, he's got to be player of the season. I'd just like to see him get a few more goals because he scored a couple last year. I think we were talking about that Sheffield United game. He scored an absolute screamer in that game. But I
Mm.
think he's undroppable, absolutely undroppable at the moment. However, you get Kamara back in there, you've got to find Tielemans a space as well. Whoever that means dropping, I'm not sure, but Tielemans, yeah, fantastic start to the season.
Yeah, it's a nice problem to have, isn't it? Not really knowing who to drop from midfield or defence. But and how far do you think Villa can go in the Champions League? From what we've seen so far, do you think we can have a good run at it?
We're going to win it, aren't we? We're making it look easy so far, absolutely.
Already booked my. I've got my place planned for the open top bus parade. I'm going to be near Snobs nightclub if it's
Oh,
still
do you know
open.
what? We were talking about that actually because when we played them, I did a little piece outside the town hall and in Victoria Square, and I was like, imagine Villa are back here, like imagine the open top bus tour. And we were talking like, they do it normally like after like the day after the final. It's like, however, we're going to win it in Munich, and then we need to get back to Birmingham as fast as possible because we are not missing that open top bus tour.
Yeah.
But yeah, in realistic terms, I'm not sure. I think it's tough. I think obviously the young boys game was fairly routine. We made that look pretty simple. They're not a good side at all. It was obviously a bit of a banana skin with it being the first game. They'd have a little bit of experience in the competition already. It's an AstroTurf pitch, all things like that. The Bayern game was just like the one that was incredible. But then as it starts to go on, you're finding these middling teams like Bologna, Monaco. How are we going to fare against them? Leipzig away is going to be such a tough game as well. So I think top eight might just be out of our grasp. I think there's too much experience in there, and there's too many good teams with experience in the Champions League in there. But I think if you can get to that upper echelons of that middle pack, I think that'll be really, really, really impressive. And then you take it from there. Knockout football. Would you bet against Villa and bet against Emery? Probably not.
No.
So hopefully get a bit of luck with the draw, and yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think if you can get to that, get in that playoff round, win that, get into the round of 16, we'll see what happens. But yeah, fingers crossed, and hopefully we get a bit of luck and see what happens.
Yeah, totally. And I think just one extra question I have actually is because there's probably a lot of people out there who like dream of doing, content creation and want to make stuff. And with what you've done in the years of doing it, have you found that your kind of skill set, even just taking it into the real world jobs and all
Mhm.
that sort of, well, your skill set as like a videographer, as a editor and all that, do you feel like you've improved that as well just by doing the channel?
Yeah, definitely. I think when I remember it so clearly actually because the camera I used to vlog my first game, that Barnsley game in 2017, it was my sister's camera. So
Mm.
she'd had a bit of a stab at YouTube. It didn't quite come off. Like she was just doing like fun videos in her bedroom, whatever it was. So she gave me a camera to take to Barnsley, and it was all self-taught. Like I remember so clearly, she logged onto a laptop. I had the SD card from Barnsley. I plugged it in. I was like, right, how am I going to do this? And obviously, you watch those first videos, and they're not great. Like they're just clips stitched together. But I think as you start to put your own personality on it, and it's not just, oh, here's me filming the pitch at a game. It's actually your personality and your mate's personality and that sort of thing. I think that's why we work well because it's like a core group of mates. You get to learn the sort of characters, if you like, and what they're
Mm.
like. Simon's a bit more pessimistic, whereas I'm a bit more up for it. Because he's seen a lot more than me and things
Yeah.
like that, and he's a bit more on it with with that sort of thing. But yeah, it's absolutely all self-taught and this YouTube channel helped me get a job when like a few years ago in videography, and I'm still in that job now. So it's a nice nice little spin-off. And yeah, it's definitely gone to another level, I think, recently in terms of the production level and stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm making 20, 25-minute videos when we do go on these European trips, and it starts from, right, we're in this place, this is what it's like, this is how much a beer is, this is how much the food is. And that was definitely a big thing in Switzerland when we went there, because the prices were mental. But just little quirks like that, and just how can you not make it all about the football? How can you have that sort of 8 to 10 minutes before the football and make that interesting, so that, because we're sort of in that space now where, especially when we weren't as good, the football is the worst bit of the day. Obviously not as much now, but you want to have that fun around it, and how can you make content on that? And I think that's why we're a little bit different to loads of other channels, because like I said, it's easy enough to go and film at a football stadium, but how can you put your spin on it and make it personable and things like that? So yeah, definitely, I think it's, in terms of production value, it's gone up a little bit recently, and yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I really like reading the comments on the videos as well. Like if you go on the Bayern Munich video, there's hundreds there that are so lovely, of people all over the world like saying such nice things. And yeah, definitely, I'm absolutely loving life at the moment.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Well, I mean, well done, honestly. It's so impressive what you've done. But for those of us, I'm assuming everybody who's watching this knows of your channel, knows where they are, but there might be the odd one who doesn't. So for those who don't, where can we find you and your channel and social media presence online?
Yeah, so Villa on Tour on YouTube. Every single game, Villa home and away, I'll create content there, sort of my match day experience and what it's like, all the traveling, that sort of thing. And then Villa on Tour _ on Instagram and Twitter as well.
And also, please remember to vote for us at the Football Content Awards.
Come on.
Thanks so much, Max. It's been absolutely brilliant to have you on, and lovely to chat to you for the first time. Really, really enjoyed this.
Cheers, Frankie. Top man.